Hi, my name is Emma and today our video will discuss the tissue engineered cardiac heart patch. Alongside with me is Charity, Thomason and Rose. I hope you enjoy our video. The heart is the organ that pumps blood throughout the body via the circulatory system. It removes carbon dioxide and it supplies oxygen and nutrients to tissues around the body. Our hearts are protected by a double-walled sac called the pericardium, and our heart is the most vital organ in our body. The tissue engineering first came about in the early 1990s. It was introduced as a way for rebuilding organs. In the early 2000s, the first investigations for the rebuilding of myocardial tissues began. A reason for the need for the cardiac heart patch was due to the limited options for those suffering from heart disease or heart attacks. In our body, in our arteries, plaque builds up due to coronary heart disease. Over time, the arteries narrow, reducing blood flow through the body. A piece of the plaque cracks and it forms a blood clot, and this cuts off blood supply to the heart cells, and in turn the heart cells die. To date, the current solutions include clot-busting drugs or heart transplant. Heart transplants are risky and also the waiting lists are incredibly long. A therapy that could regenerate or replace myocardial tissue was urgently needed. Thus, the tissue-engineered cardiac heart patch was introduced.
Hi, my name is Charity and today I'm going to talk to you about biocompatibility, mechanical properties, natural and synthetic polymers. The first is mechanical properties. What is a mechanical property? Well, it's a property that involves a relationship between stress and strain or a reaction to an applied force. Some of the mechanical properties that are identified for the cardiac heart patch are elasticity and stiffness and high strength. Elasticity and stiffness refers to the material's ability to resume to its original shape and size after being stretched out or compressed. High strength refers to the material's ability to withstand applied force without failure or plastic deformation. Next is polymers. The first is natural polymers. The two natural polymers that I'm going to talk about in this particular sections are collagens and collagen. Collagen is the most popular natural material used in tissue engineering. It is also the major component of the extracellular matrix. It is self-polarizing at 37 degrees Celsius and has a physiological pH. It can be molded into different shapes, and when seeded with heart cells, the matrix can possess many of the physiological characteristics of cardiac tissues. Another natural polymer that is used is fibrin. Fibrin is particularly great because it's produced from the patient's own blood, which means that it's biodegradable and is non-toxic to the body. However, fibrin does have limited mechanical strength, preventing their use in a lot of applications. So then why do we use natural polymers? We use them because they are biodegradable, they promote tissue remodeling, and collagen remains after decellularization, leaving a scaffold for the damaged tissue to repair in and around the area. Synthetic polymers. There are 4 synthetic polymers that are used in the cardiac heart patch, which is PGA, PCLA, PGS, PDMS. They must be coated with extracellular matrix protein to enable cardiomyocyte attachment, but they do provide structural support to prevent further ventricular dilatation. And lastly, we have biocompatibility. What is biocompatibility? Well, biocompatibility is defined as ability of a material to perform with an appropriate host response in a specific application, meaning that it must be biocompatible with the living tissues or living system by not being toxic or physiologically reactive and not causing any immunological rejections.
Hi, I'm Rose and I'm doing the advantages and disadvantages on the different materials in the cardiac patch, but I'm also doing the advantages and disadvantages of the cardiac patch itself, and I'm also doing future developments. So the extracellular matrix, one of the advantages is biocompatible, so it's not harmful or toxic to any of the living tissue. It also has good mechanical strength. It also regulates cell interactions as well, and it's FDA approved, which means that the US Food and Drug administration examines, tests and approves this for use. The disadvantages of the extracellular matrix is it provokes immune response, which means the body attacks and damages its own tissue. It's also non-biodegradable. Okay, so one of the materials in cardiac patches is also fibrin glue, which holds together the scaffold. So one of the advantages is biocompatible. Another one is superior cell retention. It also is minimally invasive implantation procedure, which is really, really good. And it also provides a structural support, and it's FDA approved. And it only has one disadvantage, which is that it's not biodegradable. Another material in the cardiac patches is polyester urethane urea. So it's a synthetic polymer or scaffold. So the advantages are that it's biodegradable, it promotes cellular interaction, provides appropriate mechanical support. So there's only two disadvantages, which are really actually bad, which makes the material not usable. So it provokes immunologic response, and it's not FDA approved, which means that it can't be used. Polyglycolide caprolactam. Well, so the advantages and disadvantages is there isn't much, as you can see. So one of the disadvantages are biodegradable, and it also has a low immunologic response, which means that it doesn't really attack the body. So a disadvantage is that it's not FDA approved, so it means that this material can't be used. So now I'm going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the cardiac patch. So there are three main advantages of the patch. So one of the main advantages are it takes pressure off waiting lists for heart transplants. It's also created from individual stem cells, thereby minimizing the immune inflammatory response to implantation. So they have the potential to be viable long-term alternatives to treat myocardial infarction.
Perfect.
So there are four main disadvantages. So there are non-living structures, the lack of growth, there is a risk of infection when implantation, and there might be aneurysm dilution. The effectiveness of the cardiac patch is hampered by the slow and efficient vascularization, which may result in cell death or poor patch integration. So here are some of the future developments I've gathered from our research. So future developments are that there might be a scaffold-free approach which has recently emerged where cells self-assemble into their sheets or circular structures without the use of either natural synthetic scaffold. So another future development is the hopes and expectations are that a novel approach will immediately impact thousands of patients who are suffering with myocardial infarction.
Hi guys, my name is Thomasin and I'm going to be talking about the implant methods and the manufacturing methods of the cardiac patch. The human-induced pluripotent cell is the most promising source of cells for the patch creation, as it is self-replicating and differentiates into different cells, and it can also be created from the patient's own somatic cells. The human-induced pluripotent stem cells can be differentiated into endothelial cells or even the cardiomyocytes for the patch. The cell-containing scaffolds are collagen, for example. Collagen is a major part of the extracellular matrix. Collagen is a major part of the extracellular matrix, and it is the most popular natural material for the cardiac patch, as it is the slow-released reservoir of the vascular endothelial growth factor. The vascular endothelial growth factor patch is implanted into a defective ventricular free wall of the heart, which leads to angiogenesis. Another type is fibrogen or fibrin. The fibrin glue, which is made of fibrogen and thrombin, is used to create a fibrin clot. Glue can seal the ruptured myocardium immediately and be naturally absorbed into the heart. Synthetic biomaterials to make the cardiac patch are PLA, PLG, and the copolymer PLGA. PLGA is bound with insulin-like growth factor 1, and it's then delivered to the peri-infracted areas in the heart. Another synthetic biomaterial is synthetic peptides, as they self-assemble to 3D hydrogels. Implant methods of the patch are injectable hydrogels, which can be done with the synthetic peptides, or it can be made into a patch with the scaffolds.